this meeting. My name is Mayola, and I'm just going to tell you one phase of my life because I have lived many in this flesh. But the one that is most heavy on my mind right now is the one that I'm experiencing now. I was raised from the time of birth to about 10 years old. I was raised in a Catholic orphanage. And even before I knew it, I was being protected. One of the nuns in the orphanage, she adopted me, not adopted me, but made me her godchild when I got baptized. And because of that, I was not subject to the vaccinations and the stuff that they put in children's bodies, so I was never vaccinated. And as time went on, I understand why she did not allow that to be done to me. And later on, I went to I was put in a foster home, so therefore I had to go from Catholic school to regular school because they thought I was really smart, you know. But the foster home that I went into, I had to start going to public high school. The high school that I went to was in an area where it was only the third year that blacks were allowed in this particular high school. So it was just for the fact that my grades were always consistent that I didn't have any problems, not really big ones, you know, little ones with the instructors. But during that time, in order to graduate, you had to study American history, which I refused to do. My foster mother had told me, you know, during the years between 10 and 16, that I should study my history before I study the history of anyone else.
Okay, ma'am.
She says, and don't let anyone outside of your race be able to tell you more about your heritage than you know. So early on, I started reading and learning about myself and about my people, to the point of I was reading books like Pimp Baby and stuff like that in grammar school, and they were like taking my books, you know, and you know, James Baldwin, Another Country, and because I was trying to like absorb who I am and where, you know, where my people are, and so with that I knew that I had to take my life in a different direction than my associates. Yeah. So I got involved with a number of organizations trying to find my foundation. The Black Panthers and oh my goodness.
Let's stop for the Panthers. Yeah. Mighty Bad Panther.
Yes.
Yeah, Southside Chicago.
And I went to New York to a Panther meeting, and they had a big shootout there, so that kind of like discouraged me from the Panthers.
You mean?
I'm being honest.
Oh no!
I was a young teenager, and my life was just beginning. I'm like, okay, I'm down with helping the people, but at what cost? So shortly after that, I got married when I was 18. My ex-husband, he was a Muslim, so I kind of like got involved in that because he was extremely intelligent, and I was kind of young, and I was still searching for that sponge of my history and the foundation of my people, and he was giving it up. He was like 12 years older than me, but he was giving it up because he was very, very knowledgeable. Right. So I did have the opportunity to go to Chicago and listen to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad speak before he passed, and so with that, I'm saying that in my spirit there has always been a search for who and what I am and where my family is.
Yes.
So I always wanted my first vacation. I wanted to go where there was people of color. So I went to Nassau, Bahamas, and it was okay, but I saw who was in control there. Then with my second husband, you know, I got one. He says, "Whatever you want to get married." So I said, "Well, let's just go to Jamaica, right?" So we went to Jamaica, and we was there for like 15 days, and our chalet was in St. Anne's Bay, and our chauffeur, yes, and our chauffeur, he's like, "Where do you want to go?" We're like, "We don't want to go where the tourist people go. We want to go where your people go."
Yeah.
Right? So we went to Brownstown and a couple of new beaches at night and stuff like that, you know. We went to where his people had, you know, like restaurants and, you know, with like one table and two chairs type of thing. And it was really, really good, but I still couldn't find me, you know. So my son told me, I'm just skipping over a lot of spaces because it's a long story. My son told me, you know, when I told him I was going to Africa with Bomani, my son told me, he says, "Mom," he says, "I remember when I was 8 years old, you told me that you were going to go to Africa." Well, he's 34 now.
Wow.
Yeah. And he says, "Yeah," I says, "but you know," I says, "let me show you how it happened." It just so happened that I take care of cancer people. And one of my, you know, and I'm not cheap, okay? So one of my clients one of my clients had passed over, so I got a nice chunk of money. So I put it in the bank, and I'm in this vegetarian restaurant. I think it's Elsie's or something like that, right? And I saw this.
Healthful Essence.
Exactly.
Healthful Essence, ATL.
Sorry. And I saw
restaurant.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I saw your brochure over there, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness!" And I saw the price. I'm like, "I can do this." Right?
Yes,
and I
you can.
called him up, and I said, "Are we still doing this?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I says, well, listen, I want to bring you the money." And so he says, "Well, we can do this, we can do that," and so we made arrangements. We met up, and I gave him money. I said, now next month I'm going to give you this, and next month I'm going to give you that, and we'll be done, right? And so he's like, and he was so calm, and oh my God, he's got the patience of Job.
The Bomani technology.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
And he just hooked me up, and I was like, I'm thinking to myself the whole time, I'm like, is this really happening?
Maybe
And I
it's a simple process.
Yeah, I said, so what is the most important thing I need to do? He says, the most important thing is the visa. I'm like, well, let's get on that now. And so we did the paperwork, we got the application. I took it to him. I says, check it and make sure, because I don't want anything coming back. He says, yeah. Mailed it. Less than a week, it was back. I said, now what's the next thing? He gave me this list of 30 things. I'm like, he says, you got to get your yellow fever. I says, okay, got the yellow fever holistically. I said, I don't want them putting up garbage.
Yellow medicine. That's
but mommy, he says, well, I know this doctor that uses
Dr. Oscar.
Right.
We love you, Dr. Scary. Because of you.
Went there and she hooked me up, and I'm like, you know, what else do I need to do? He says, here's a list of 30 things that you might want to, you know, bring with you or consider. I says, is this it? He says, yep. And so I took the list, got my visa, got my payment done, and I worked on the list a little bit at a time, and here I am.
Yes.
And then conference call.
Yes, I did.
About that. So encourage other people.
The conference calls were so informative. Absolutely. Little tidbits like bring your gold. Take 3,000 milligrams of vitamin C to boost up your immune system. I mean, just helpful little hints that, of course, my mind, he can't think of everything because you don't know what's on a person's mind or what's important to them. But, oh my goodness, I'm like, and I'm listening, I'm like, oh, gee, yeah. And then a few things I called Bomani, I says, Bomani, I says, one of the persons said this, said that, and he's like, oh, no. He says, and he explains stuff to you. I'm like, oh, okay, all right, it's okay. But the conference calls, definitely. And I said to him, I says, you know, I says, Bomani, I have not met anybody that's going on this trip yet. Right? And so he says, well, that's why we have the conference calls. Okay. There's a health food store that I frequent on Old National. So I went there because I had ordered some Total Cleanse.
Right.
No, it's like Total Cleanse for women. Oh, exactly. Yes. And I went to pick it up, and I was telling her that I was going to Ghana. And so she says, right? So I went to, when the stuff came in, I went to pick it up, and she says, Mayola. I'm like, yeah. She says, there was 2 other women that came in here that's going to Ghana.
Susie.
So I says, nah, they're probably going in November. She says, no. She says, they're going in May. I'm like, really? And she says, yeah. She says, they left their number for you. I'm like, awesome. So we called, we got in contact, and then we got in contact with Susie, Bomani, and Susie, and Sass, and Lydia, and we all had lunch at this Korean restaurant, and I felt
Caribbean restaurant. Jamaican Caribbean night.
Caribbean.
It was good, wasn't it?
Caribbean, Jamaican.
It was food.
That was not me. That was not gas. I'm telling you. That was not the cabbage.
What was the name of the restaurant, sister?
It was the Caribbean. Tropical. Yes. Tropical.
Riverdale. What was it?
Oh, okay.
I was
Tropical Paradise.
Tropical Paradise.
Yes.
On Riverdale Road. Old National Highway.
Old National.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's all we wanted to say.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, please.
Now, I'm going to tell you what impressed me most so far about this journey. In the orphanage, I was the only black child in this Catholic orphanage. And because they had no mirrors, it never dawned or fazed me that there was a difference. So when Bomani mentioned that they needed black dolls, I was going to take these little girls some black dolls. And because I knew in my spirit that it was all going to happen all right because everything else had so far, I went to this merchant in this consignment store, and she had black dolls, like 3 of them. And she wasn't there, she was consigning them. And so I went back 3 times, and the 3rd time I caught her. And I said to her, I says, how much do you want for those dolls? And so she says, well, they're priced. I says, yeah, I see that, but I want to know how many do you have? She says, I have 8. I says, okay, can we make a deal for 8? And she says, you want all 8? I'm like, yes. So we came to a price, and I told her, I says, well, if you do so-and-so and so-and-so, I'll give you cash. And she said, cash works for me. So we made a better deal. So I went and got the cash, and I came back, and she says, oh, by the way, she says, while I was packing up your dolls, she says, I found 2 more. She says, I'm just going to give these to you because you bought the 8. So our little girls in the orphanage, they have black dolls, so they know who they are. And they can see what beautiful, beautiful creatures they are. And not grow up not knowing and not having somebody else to tell you.
Yeah, black is beautiful as you, my sister. Beautiful.